Hi.
So we recorded last week, so we are on a roll.
Yeah.
We're already doing our next one, which is what I think Brian is envisioning for us to do, is
Yeah.
one a week, whether it's with me or
It's not always, yeah, it's not always going to be us tag teaming, but
yeah,
it's
but
going to be
most of the
something.
time.
Yeah,
Most of the
it's
time.
going to be something.
Um, so I thought we would start with sharing a couple of ways we saw God this week.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, one was I have to. I'm now going into work 30 minutes early 3 times a week. And the first day, I think it was the first day, on Tuesday, I wasn't very happy about it. You know, I'm not a morning person, so.
No, you are not.
And I was on my way to work, and I shared a little bit of this on our Conformed to Transform Facebook page, but I had to see a beautiful sunrise, and I thought, you know what? If I didn't have to be at work this early, I wouldn't have seen this beautiful sunrise
Yeah.
and be reminded of God's beauty in everything in every moment. No matter how you're feeling, you can find some beauty from God.
Yeah.
So that was one time. And then we've had some car issues in the past few weeks, so we've spent a lot of money on that, on top of getting kids back to school. Ariel's getting her first apartment. So things have just like added up. And we know that we need new tires on the Jeep, so trying to figure out how to do that. And I wasn't even really stressed about it, which is weird.
That is weird.
Not usual for me. But then all of a sudden I forgot.
That's good.
Over the summer. Now, I was not happy about this over the summer. Teachers were required to take a week-long class and give up part of their summer to do it. And I did that. And totally forgot that there was money involved with that. And all of a sudden I got an email this week. Your check is on the way for doing that class. And I'm like, oh, there's my tires.
It worked out pretty
So,
cool.
like, you know, I was down in the dumps when I had to do it over the summer because I was really busy over the summer and didn't want to have to give up a week to do it. And look, God turned it into something good and much needed that we need at the time. So, see, even when you're feeling those dark moments, things are making you crabby, whatever, God's still there, and there's a reason.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So mine is nothing outside of the norm as far as like, so my morning walks, I went on two or three of them this week. I can't really remember, but something that gets me every single time is just, I'm still just blown away every single time. Like I'll go walk on these roads, and right now there's not a lot of houses around us really. Like stuff's coming, they're going to be building. It's just like Westfield, Noblesville, Fishers. Like we're not going to be alone out here for long. We are in a subdivision, but I go walking on these roads and it's just so wide open, and you can see the sun starting to come up. And before that happens, you see just millions of stars up there, and I'm just blown away. Like God shows up absolutely everywhere,
Right.
and you're just looking at the trees, and like if you just kind of just pay attention to the around you hear so many amazing noises, and it's just, if you're looking for God, you will find him. Like it's just absolutely everywhere. So that's amazing.
Right.
And in my Thursday night circle, as it relates to conformed to transformed, as we're trying to get that a little bit more ramped off, we have several more people that are showing interest and coming in that, and not just interest, like, you know, they need it. The whole premise of it is for people that are just trying to find like-minded people to get together, and it kind of ties in. Well, of course it ties in with it. It's part of the conform to transform, but what we're talking about today. And so, I mean, God shows up every single day, and if you're looking for it, he shows up in even bigger ways, and you just have to have the eyeballs for it. And we'll dive even deeper into that, because this is something that I am super excited about. We're also going through it in our Wednesday morning prayer, like our Zoom thing that we have with a couple of friends. We have a standing 6 a.m. Wednesday morning Bible study with 5 or 6 guys, and we're going through the book Atomic Habits right now by James Clear, which is just awesome. I've listened to it, I've read it, and we're kind of just going through it week by week with some supplemental videos and stuff. And the session that we had last Wednesday, I wasn't actually able to be there Wednesday morning, but it was on what we're talking about today. So this is near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love it because it'll change your life, and it's so profound, but people they just don't notice it really most of the time.
I thought I didn't make Thursday nights one of mine because I figured that you would kind of chime in on that a little bit. So Thursday nights, I'm excited about that too. That we're growing and
I was going to leave that for you. That's why. I didn't say
we're
anything.
growing so much that I'm gonna start getting involved because we have women who are coming to us now, and it really gave us a chance to look at how we're going to approach that and where we're going to go with our conform to transform on Thursday nights, which is what we envisioned.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
For sure.
Which was what we envisioned from the start. The things our story is really powerful. I know we haven't completely shared our story yet, but it's a powerful story, and I think God is using us as vessels with that story to reach others, and we're excited about it. So that is exciting.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Yep.
We all have a story, no matter who you are. Absolutely, everybody.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the intro, and so glad that you're here. And so what I really want to touch on today, and kind of the outline that I put together, and for us to just chat about here for a half hour or so, is the power of identity. Mm-hmm. The power of identity. Like, what does that even mean? You hear about it all the time. But what most people don't realize is that your identity that you have in your brain, it runs your entire life. It affects the decisions that you make, every single choice, the way that you feel about yourself, the way that you feel about others. The lens through which you see the world is basically your identity, mm-hmm. and it is extremely powerful. It's more than your name. Mm-hmm. It's more than your face. Down into the core, it's the essence of who you actually are. And so, mm-hmm. And the power of identity is all over the place in the Bible. It's absolutely everywhere. So I'm going to ask you something. And I'll tell you, whenever I'm putting these studies together, I don't tell her really what they're about. Like, I give her the base topic, but like, we don't prep this. So I'm going to catch her off guard. And, so some of these questions are kind of tough, I feel like, but we're going to see. So let's say that you go to a party, mm-hmm. or you meet somebody at church for the first time, or you're wherever that I know that you don't walk up to people like at Kroger or Walmart like I do and just to start talking, but let's say you meet somebody for the first time. You shake their hand, you get their name, and then what's your next question, typically? Like, if I meet somebody at a party, I'm like, hey, I'm Brian, hey, Larry, whatever. Your next question typically is, so what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah, so what do you do, right?
I think at our age, it's sometimes, how old are your kids?
Yeah, like, how old are your kids? What do you do? And so here's the problem with that question, what do you do? So if you ask somebody, what do you do? And they tell you, well, I'm a plumber. All of a sudden, in your head, you have this stereotype, like, you think you know who they are because they told you what they do. What you do is not who you are. And it's just so funny because we're all at the surface level like that. That is not your identity whatsoever. It shouldn't be your identity. Some people make that their identity.
I mean, I'm just asking. How do you? Can you explain that a little further? Like, they tell you they're a plumber,
or they're a lawyer, or they're a doctor, or like all of a sudden in your head you like envision what they're doing day to day and what their life must be like, or hey, maybe he drives a Maserati, or hey, maybe he drives a Pinto, or like,
that's interesting.
Doesn't that come to your mind? Like if you come up to somebody and she shakes your hand and she says, yeah, I'm a social worker. Like, immediately you picture her dealing with kids, and you picture her dealing with like family issues and stuff, even though you really don't know anything about her whatsoever except for those 2 sentences that she said. Don't you do that whenever you first meet people?
I know what the job entails.
Yeah.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I just needed you to explain a little
bit. Yeah, exactly. And we just do that so much in society, especially guys. Guys mm-hmm. are really, really... So what do you do? And, is it a big, buff, blue-collar job or something like that? Or, whenever I tell people that I'm an IT and stuff, people, they either picture me as a nerd, or they picture me just sitting at a desk typing all day, and I've never done manual labor in my life. And so...
That's interesting that men look at it that way. I would compare that to women looking at stay-at-home moms versus working moms. Moms with young kids versus moms with older kids. That's probably more of something, because I would say that's...
It's not bad, it's not mean, but you automatically, like, it's not really judging them, but you definitely have a stereotype.
Right.
Of like who that person is, right? And so I just found that fascinating. I've been thinking, we talked about that last Tuesday in our circles as well, and it's just, it makes so much sense. And so, but your identity, and I said this in the sermon, if you watched it, that I preached at one church as well, is that most people don't pay attention to identity. Like, instead of walking up to somebody and saying, what do you do? What if you walked up to somebody and you get their name and then you say, "Who are you?" You're 99% of people are stumped.
Right.
Like if you say, "Who are you?" Right? Most people, if you say, "Who are you?" they're going to say, "Well, I'm a doctor." No, I didn't ask you what you did. I was asking, "Who are you?" Right? And it just goes deeper. And most people just don't dig that deep. And so your identity absolutely is a humongous part of you. And it was a huge part of my recovery. And we'll go into it as well because I switched that identity to my identity being a child of God, my identity being a chosen one that follows Jesus Christ. And when you live your life from that identity, your choices change.
Right.
Your opinions change. And knowing who you are changes your behavior completely. Right?
Okay.
I mean, your identity does. And so we were kind of talking about this with the Atomic Habits thing last Wednesday as well. Identity is so powerful. So, like, if you were to walk up to two people at a party and you would offer them a cigarette, one guy says, "No, I don't want one right now." And then the other guy says, "I am not a smoker." You see the difference in that? Even though both of them might not smoke, like, your identity, that's a set of values and beliefs that comes from. And so
let's practice. What's your identity?
what is my identity? So I might share that towards the end of this, but it's a little bit, it's very, very personal because it's my 5 top life goals that is all the way down to one sentence. And so I will tell you that towards the end of it. But I do have it.
So that's why. But you just said, why don't people go up to each other and say, instead of saying, "What do you do? What's your identity?" It's because there is
it's personal.
It's a personal thing.
Yeah, and for me, and you know me, the whole sense of like sometimes being weirded out about what people are going to think or say, like mine is kind of goofy.
Right.
I mean, you know, it kind of is
Right, and
like for
so-
example, here I'll bring mine up. If it's on, is it on this computer? Let me see here. Let me see here. It might not be. Okay. I am an extremely healthy, selfless father and husband who is one of the top IT consultants in the industry and an amazing golfer who uses my powerful story of transformation to bring other men to Jesus to live out their true calling and life's purpose. And so, like, those are some of the most important things in my life: father, husband, using my story to reach out to people, being one of the best at what I do. And yeah, so it's almost like a personal mission statement, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
yeah. So great question,
Yeah.
but I don't have it memorized. But you know, when you wake up in the morning, it's why people are so aimless, and I talk about it all the time. Like when you get up in the morning and you're thinking, like, what do I have to do today? Some people are ready to take on the world. They have goals, like they have tasks. And my deal is with that sentence that I just told you, what I try to do across all 5 of those, you can see it in my journal and my planner. I try to do one thing, even small, no matter how small that it is, that gets me one step closer to that identity. To that. And we'll get into that even a little bit more as we go.
So your identity might not be something you already have. It could also be something you're striving for.
It's something that you're striving for, but if you're striving for it, you should act like that you already have it. You should act like that you're already doing it. Okay. So, like, for example, if I, let's see here, if I want to be like one of the world's best football players, like I'm a football player, I'll never be one of the world's best football players, but like act like it, breathe like it, think like it, walk around like you are that.
Okay.
Like,
so how
come from that place, come from that identity.
How does your identity in Christ fit in that?
If you're seeking His will and you're seeking His face every single day and you want to do His will, then you know God wants to give you the desires of your heart as well. It's like our pastor, you know, he is using hip hop and basketball and his chaplainship, the things that he's very, very passionate about, and he said it again and again in his sermons. Like he may not like be super into what you're into, but he does care about what you're into,
Right.
and he will use what you're passionate about to do his work.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
you know, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have been saved through golfing with somebody. There's been people that have been saved on an airplane. It's just, I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It's harder for me because I'm just a simple person. I
Yeah.
am. It doesn't take as much for me.
I
to
think
be,
too much.
Yeah. I don't know. I have, you know, as long as I have a home, I have healthy kids. I'm going to church. I'm seeking God.
Yeah, you're doing it right. I just tend to overthink everything.
I know that I'm in the career that God has called me to, and wherever that they lead. I mean, I just told my principal the other day that I plan on retiring with Taylor, so he said he's going to hold me to that. But I mean,
But do you see what's happening there?
I do see what's happening there, but I don't think that there's anything. There's not anything wrong with that. Like,
No, there's not.
I feel like
you should, like, not everybody has these grandiose, crazy goals.
right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you just mentioned that you are happy, you are healthy, you have good kids, you have the job that you feel like you're called into.
Right.
But what did that start off with? I'm seeking God.
Yeah.
So is it any wonder that you're happy?
No.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
No.
Because your true identity comes first from being a daughter of God, right?
And
so.
I know, funny thing, my shirt today. I
Yeah.
don't even know.
Well, it's right there.
God is still writing your story. Stop
82
trying to
font.
steal the pen.
Nice.
That's how I feel about it too. So I'm open to my identity in Christ.
Yeah.
Might change. Like, I started on Sunday. Did I know that I was going to start joining your group on Thursday? On Sunday, no, I didn't.
Right. Yeah.
But is that going to become part of my identity and part of my story to be involved in that? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's constantly changing too.
Well, the path that you're taking is what doesn't change is the identity in Christ. It does. If you have to base your
but I
identity
think God's
on
constantly changing you to.
that. He's changing you. He doesn't.
Yeah, He doesn't.
Which we get into
change.
here in a little bit. Yes.
No, He doesn't change,
Right.
but your identity statement can change.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's especially depending on your stage of life.
Yeah.
And all those things.
Where God is leading you. That's why I said I'm not closed to the fact that.
You could be doing something
I'm
completely
open to-
different
yeah,
career-wise
that's
10
what I'm
years from now.
saying.
Me too.
Yes,
I mean, I absolutely could be as well.
I mean,
I don't know what else I'm
knows?
good at, but yeah.
Yeah,
Not a lot. Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so what I was getting at was, so naturally we search for our root identity in external things, right? So, like, for example, like our career, and it's no doubt that we do that because we spend most of our time there.
Right.
It's most of our
course.
life. Our financial status, our financial success. Like, some people base their entire self-worth and their identity and the way that they think and the decisions that they make based on that. Some with their relationship status. Some are like, I am a single person, and they want to be that way for the rest of their lives. Some people are like, I am a super husband, or, depending on relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend,
Right.
whatever. Some people base their entire life on that. Some people on their appearance,
Yeah.
like how they look. Social media is so bad about that right now, and it's why so many, like teenagers and adults as well,
Right.
they have such low self-esteem and feel so bad about themselves because their identity is wrapped up
Yeah.
in their appearance. Some students, they're wrapped up in their grades. Like, if they don't have a 4.2,
Yeah.
like, they're absolutely depressed. Their life's ruined. Your reputation. And so, while all of those they seem like solid foundations, right? But all of those could change without warning. So, like, let's say that my entire identity is wrapped up in my job, and I get fired tomorrow.
Right.
Then what? What do I have to lean on? Like, what's that anchor? What is my true identity? And so, for example, a relationship. Let's say that you based your life 100% solely on me. Like, I am your identity, and I passed away tomorrow. What are you gonna do?
I will tell you this.
Yeah.
I've been thinking this week a lot about a major part of my identity is as a mom to three girls, and that's a huge part of my identity. And the reason I've been thinking about it hard this week is because I'm really praying for my sister-in-law. She only has one, and my niece is getting ready to go to school.
Big weekend for her, for sure.
And I know that's going to be a huge change for my sister-in-law and my brother, but especially my sister-in-law as a mom. So I've been thinking about that a lot this week, and what that will look like for me when Sadie's gone. My youngest, Sadie, is gone. And so you're right. So we have to have our identity in some things that are rooted to the ground. That for sure.
You absolutely have to have them rooted to the ground, because one of these days, all this hustle and bustle of all these kids all around, like me and you, our relationship, one of these days they're going to be gone. Yeah. Then what are you going to do?
Right.
Like, where you spend all of that time and all that stuff.
Right.
Like how rock solid is that foundation?
Right.
Because I know a lot of couples, and this happens sometimes, is that their entire lives are wrapped around their kids and their kids alone, and then the kids go off to college, and then they look at each other and they're
Right.
like, we got nothing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like-
Which I'm not promoting blended families, but one of the parts of being a blended family is
Yeah.
that we do have separate times because we don't have the kids all the time.
Yeah.
And we never have for our
Right.
whole,
So we
do
get
have-
breaks. Right.
Right. But as far as me personally, it's going to be an adjustment because my mind they're always in the back of my mind with everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
All the time, even when they're not with me for a few days because they're at their dad's. They're still in the back of my mind with this decisions that I'm making throughout the weekend.
Right. Like the things that you do and the choices that you make are based on how it affects them.
Right. So that's
come a day where that's not the
that
case.
becomes a huge void for a lot of people, and I understand that. So that's part of the identity too. But if you have Christ in it, then you see it differently.
And you're jumping ahead to where I'm
and-
getting ready to go as well.
I'm sorry.
No, you didn't know.
I just
But
I feel
it's
like,
good. You're getting to what I'm getting ready
Yeah,
to say. Yeah, it's good.
So when I was thinking about that this week, I thought, you know what? But by then, and I'm already seeing it now. There's going to be so much more to my identity than just work, wife, mom. And I didn't. That was out of order. I know that's a total terrible order. But now it's God, wife, mom, serving others. And I think since I'm serving others and not just my kids and not just my husband, because that's my identity now,
Yeah.
that it'll make those moments more doable.
Yeah.
More okay.
Makes sense.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so where you were going, so all of those things can change, right? Like they can be taken away from you. And then what? Like what is that foundation? And the whole point that I was getting at was that God is completely unchanging, right? He's
Right.
reliable. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And if you identify in Him, you'll never ultimately be let down because He has proven time and time again to be trustworthy. He's not going anywhere. Everything else we see, none of this is eternal. None of it. None of it lasts. Actually, it goes by faster than you think. Like, do you remember your kids in diapers? It feels like it was yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're almost gone.
Yeah.
And so, like, everything is fleeting. Just absolutely everything. God's
My
not.
youngest is
and
only
so-
a sophomore in high school. She's not almost gone.
you blink,
playing.
you blink, and you'll
I
see.
know.
Yeah,
I've
I
been
know.
there.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but it's also very, very important because some people do this as well. And I've been guilty of it. I'm sure that we all have. But that God just not be an aspect of who you are. Like people, like my identity is not only like I am a Christian or I am religious or I am spiritual. And so it's got to go deeper than that. And
Yeah.
so understanding your identity in God starts with understanding who He is, what He says about Himself, and what He says about you.
Right.
You know, so your identity can be defined by who God is by making you to be in His image. You know, we're made in His image.
Yep. And with that, it's starting to sprinkle a little bit.
Yeah, it's
That's all.
starting to
But we're
rain.
gonna be okay. With that, it's like what you said. I am a. You can't just say you're a Christian. It's kind of like
A lot of people say that.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's like that argument with people right now who like say, "Well, I think I'm a cat." Well, you're not a cat just
Right.
because you say you're a cat.
I'm a puma.
Same idea, right?
Spirit animal.
It's absolutely
Yeah.
same idea. You gotta be living your life. It's a life
Yeah,
thing. Not
and we're
a-
made
not
in His
just a
image.
check
Like
the box
our
thing.
identity is in Him by design.
Right.
Like He said, let us make a man in our image. And
Right.
whenever He did, like your identity is based in Him. It's
Yeah.
starting to rain a little bit harder if we cut and have to move to a
Yeah.
different scene, but that's okay.
We're under an umbrella right now.
Yeah,
It's okay.
for now,
It's not
depends on how
blowing.
bad the wind's going to be. And
Yeah.
so we just got to remember that we are chosen, forgiven, and redeemed. And so
Yeah.
let's go to Moses. It's a
Okay.
pretty cool story because I like his identity. And by the way, plug here on Netflix, there is a Moses story that I've been spreading this at church too
Oh,
with our
yes.
worship team. It is so good, the show Moses. If you see it on there, it's a documentary mixed with the live action, but it's 3 parts, 2 hours each, and it's awesome. It shows the story of Moses from whenever he was little, all the way up until the parting of the Red Sea. But it's so well done. But you can also see in this that Moses had to struggle with some identity issues. because he was a Hebrew child. He was Jewish,
Right.
but whenever he was rescued as a kid, he was Egyptian royalty as well. So you got to think he has everything that he wants. He's being groomed to like be a millionaire, to have it all. If you put it in today's standards. And then he also gets this calling from God because he was always seeking after his identity, right? He was always seeking it, but he was very, very confused too because he had this thing right here, and so he was led to the burning bush experience, which I'm sure everybody's heard this story all the way going back to Sunday school, and that's where he received basically his divine mission, which is like God said, "I'm going to use you," and he's like, "I don't know about that." He's like, "Yes," and so. It was there in the presence of the Almighty in Exodus 3:14. Moses asked for him, "Who are you?" And God says, "I am who I am." Not to be confused with Popeye people. He said, "I am who I am," and that is really, really powerful. It revealed an identity that it's eternal, it's self-sufficient, and it's unchanging.
Right.
And that encompasses God. So we need to not only know that our identity is not just who we are in the eyes of the world, but who we are in relation to Him.
I think if you do that, then it comes out through all your identities. Like
yes, yes, it's the foundation that pours through everything else. 100%. That's right.
So because I have an identity in Christ, that my identity as an educator changes. The way that I do that changes. The way that I parent changes.
Yeah.
The way that I wife changes.
Right.
Changes because that's the first
yeah,
step.
You got to see through that lens.
That's why the order, when they tell you God first, spouse supposed to be next.
Come on now.
Kids, and then the rest. And serving people probably.
Yes,
in your
but here's the thing: if you seek God and you put that first, the other stuff will fall into place.
Right.
Like you don't have to do all these rankings all the time. Like
No.
if you seek Him and you seek His face and you're in the Word all the time and you're like you're truly seeking Him, kind of like what we talked about last week. Like those things, if you're following His will, which is perfect and pleasing,
right?
Romans 12:2 again, motto verse for this entire ministry. It falls into place, and you're living the life that you were designed to live, and so. So we just got to understand that we're created in the image of the divine in Genesis 1:27, right? And each of us, we were talking about this Thursday. We are one of one.
Yeah.
There will never be another
That's
one
it.
of you. You were born against 1 in 400 trillion odds.
Yeah.
It's insane. So you, as you are, with your fingerprint, with who you are, and there's things that you can do that I could never do.
Right.
Like there is a unique purpose and a unique calling for your life.
Even your doppelganger's not the same as you.
That's right. Yeah. And we all have a couple, at least one, right? And so our real identity, it's not found in worldly things. They're great. Like these are great things to have. These are good things to associate with, and like it's awesome to be the best at what you do in your industry. Like there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But that can't be your end all be all. That's who I am at my root level.
No.
It can't be that. And so, yeah.
It's crazy because you really see it. Anyone who has more than one kid with child and you, same genes, same parents. Like I have 3 girls. Now they might look similar, but they are
personality-wise, they're all
different.
very different. Yeah.
And they were raised the same way. It's just that's it. I mean, that's it right there. That's the perfect example of how everyone is unique. And God
everybody
makes
is right.
everyone unique.
Yeah.
Because scientifically, biologically, they're not that much different.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
But
yeah, and that's why people and that's why I feel so fired up and so passionate about this, and that's why I have this winning mentality of like I'm going to do amazing things, and I know I'm going to do amazing things because God told us that we're going to do amazing things, and if you follow Him and you seek His face and His will, absolutely you're going to do amazing. And it may not be amazing by worldly standards or worldly values, but He's going to use you in a way that He can't use anybody else.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're selling out Madison Square Garden, or it doesn't mean like He uses the least and makes it the most.
Yeah. And
the Bible's just full of stories like that. And so we've been talking about the Old Testament. The New Testament goes into it even more, obviously, through the life of Jesus. He was born into nothing, but His identity as the Son of God, it defined His every decision. From when He was born, like every decision that He made, going into the wilderness, He did just His ministry, absolutely everything, He was always thanking the Father, always thanking the Father, always thanking the Father, right? And so Jesus taught that our identity in Him, that's the source of our strength. And He made it very,
Right.
very clear. There's 100 verses that I could read, but I'll just highlight John 15:5 when it says, "I am the vine and you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing."
Right.
And so, in other words, you've got to stay rooted in Him. And if you do, you're going to see amazing things happen in your life. And you're going to have that peace that goes beyond all understanding. And you're going to have that happiness to where whenever people see you, they're like, what's up with you? Are you on drugs or something? Like, no, no, I'm just really happy, like, legitimately. And so,
It's kind of like what I was saying earlier. You might not even see it in the season. That
That's
the
right.
fruit might be coming later, but
Yes.
it will come.
yeah, it absolutely will. And once you get closer to Him and you spend time in His Word, you start getting that discernment. And you also start getting the patience. And there's a passage in 1 Peter. We did this in our Bible study on Wednesday a couple months back, and I don't think the guys realize how powerful that was for me. But it's just a couple of verses that touches on that specifically, how one thing begets another, and how you can reach towards that level of holiness and sanctification that God's called you to. But I don't want to get off on that tangent. And so, and as far as the identity goes, I was kind of touching on it earlier, don't wait for it to come to you. Like, for example, you can use the example of if there's a job that you really, really, really want at work, you want this promotion.
Yeah.
Don't sit around and wait for it. Like, dress like you already have it. Act like you already have it. Work like you already have it. And seek His face and His will. And if it is His will, it's guaranteed to come to pass. It will come to pass for you. And so,
If it's His will.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so, but if you're seeking His face, you're going to know His will. Like, it's going to be common sense to you as time goes on. And so, there is nothing wrong with having those goals and going after them and being moldable and shapeable as you go, should the tides turn.
Right.
And so, there's this fun little test. I think it was a Tony Robbins thing. I can't remember what it was, but what you do is you kind of you close your eyes there and you sit there and you think and you picture your funeral. What are your kids saying about you? What are your coworkers saying about you? What's your husband saying about you? And you think, like, if they were up there, are they joyful because you're in heaven? Are they bawling? Are they both? Like, what are they saying about you? And what they're saying about you is obviously how you lived your life and what your identity was. And so it's also called the rocking chair test. It's looking back on your life. And so picture your funeral, what people are saying, and whatever you want them to be saying about you, like, start living that life now. It makes sense, right? Like, if I want people to stand up there and be like, he was a loving guy, high energy guy that just loved Jesus with all that was in him. I have to live like that, right? Because if I don't live like that, why is anybody going to say that? And so, hopefully that makes sense. And it may seem a little bit weird and a little bit morbid, but I've done that before, and it helps me set my goals, quite honestly, because you can just sit there and you can just picture what's my mom saying about me? What's Krista saying about me? What is my son saying about me? What are the girls saying about me? People that I worked with, people that saw me at the gas station, people that saw me all over town. Like, what are these people saying about Brian Crouch? And that can really help put things in perspective and really see what that identity is.
Yep.
Right? And you can see what they may be saying right now if you were to pass away tomorrow versus what you want them to say.
Right.
Right? Does that make sense?
And I know, yes, it does. And what's weird is I was thinking about this week. I was thinking about what are the top few transformational things that happened in my life, whether they were good or bad.
Yeah.
And none of them are the things that take our worries from day to day. Like, I could not tell you that there was any, like, life transforming thing that happened when I needed to come up with a couple $1,000s and my bank account was low.
Yeah.
Like, no, but but we think that it is in that moment.
We think it's the biggest thing of all time whenever in that moment. And it doesn't take long to look back and be like, that was nothing.
Right. Yeah. But the things that are pretty significant. But there's not like tons and tons and tons of them, even when I talk about like the 5 worst things that I've ever experienced, you know? And I think that's pretty profound to think about, because ask yourself that. What are the 5 absolute worst things you've experienced in your life. And you might not even be able to come with 5 that
Right.
are that serious.
Yep.
Um,
But some people can't.
right. But so when you're in those moments, when you feel like you're in the desert, just remember, is this something that I'm going to feel like was one of the 5 worst things that ever happened to me 10 years from now? Probably not.
Probably not.
So don't let those things stop you from doing the good things that form your identity. Don't get so stuck in that valley of things that don't really matter, that won't matter 10 years from now, to stop you from doing the things that do matter, that will matter 10 years from now.
Yeah, that's so good. And you got to know it's also scripturally based here as well, that the way that I treat every single day, and I know you're going to think I'm nuts, but like I treat every single day as day one.
Yeah.
Like, because every day is a brand new day. Like, our spirit is refreshed anew. Like, whatever happened yesterday, yes, it happened. It may have sucked. It may have been amazing.
Right.
But you get up, and guess what? You have another. You're here for a reason.
Yeah.
That's another opportunity for you to go out and base that identity in Christ and look around. And like we said at the very beginning, when you're looking for Him, you'll find Him. We were talking about on Thursday too. Like, whenever you went out and you got your Jeep a few years back, what did you see on the road? You saw a million Jeeps, right?
Right.
If you get a certain kind of dog, you look around, you're like, why does everybody have the same dog as I do? They've
Yeah.
always had the same dog as you do. Now you're just paying attention to it.
Right.
So you got to be careful what you're paying attention to, and just seek His face, go after His will, and just base your identity in Christ as a child of God, as a son of God, a daughter of God. And whenever you do that, you will have that peace again that's beyond all understanding. And we're here to be joyful, to have really good lives, to have life more abundantly. He wants to bless us in ways that we can't even imagine. There is nothing wrong with being abundantly blessed. He wants
Right.
that for you. And, you know, we're here to have a relationship with Him, not to just be robots and just like follow rules and all of that other
We're
stuff.
here to have a relationship with Him.
Relationship.
To bring
Yeah.
others to Him.
Right.
And to be kind to
Yeah.
each other. I think we forget about that part a lot.
We do.
And it goes a long way.
I think
People
we've-
appreciate it so much.
Yeah. I think we forget that He's love. Period.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, at the very end, all the levels that you can go up to what God is, it
Yeah.
is love. And that's what He called us to do, to love our neighbors. What did He say? If somebody punches you on the right side of your face, give them your left. If they ask you to
Yeah.
walk 1 mile, walk 2. Like, give yourself up. Take up your cross and follow Him. Give up yourself for other people.
Yeah.
And ironically, as strange as that sounds, you end up being the one being blessed. You end up being
Yes.
happier. And that is our
I
sole
mean,
purpose
it
here.
goes back to Jesus Himself.
just
I
love
mean,
each other,
I'm sure
right.
that the top worst thing that ever happened to Him was being crucified on the cross.
You would think.
However, look at how many years and years and generations since He did it with a good attitude and with a good heart and for
Yeah.
loving everybody.
Well, and He knew that He
That's
had to
what
do it.
mattered.
He knew that He had to do
That's
it, yeah.
what matters.
Right.
So even when you're in the thick of it,
Yeah.
do the things that are still hard to do that will
Yeah.
matter for
Do
your
His
eternity
will,
and
yeah.
for 10 years from now,
Then-
20 years from now.
The night He got arrested, when He got crucified, He was in the garden, Gethsemane, and He was praying.
Yeah.
He was like, I really don't want this. I really don't want this.
Right.
Please, if it's your will, just please take this cup from me.
Yeah.
Please don't let me do this. But then, what does He say? Not my will, but yours.
Yeah.
And He did that every single day of His
Yeah.
entire life. And ultimately, from an eternal perspective, that's what we got to do. Because all these things that I was talking about, your reputation, your career, your financial status, your appearance, I mean, like, I don't care how hot you are. Guess what? In 40 years, you're probably not going to be. And so it doesn't matter who you are. That goes away. Sorry, man. I'm just telling you. That goes away. Money goes away. You're not always going to be doing what you do for a living. Like, I may be, you know, I'm loving IT. I've been doing it my whole life. It's the only thing that I'm good at. But when I'm 87, I could very well be a Walmart greeter. I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean,
Right.
it's funny where life takes you, but I do know this is I'm going to be seeking His face and going after His will. And I'm going to be happy because He told me that I'm going to be happy if I do that.
Yeah.
And my God doesn't change. He doesn't lie.
No.
He is steadfast and firm. And you just, in those rough moments, you just got to be still and know that He is God.
Yeah.
Psalm 46:10. Scripture drop.
And it's from Psalms.
Yes, it is Psalms. Oh, speaking of Psalms, yeah, we're really looking forward to. I think I know which one He's doing too, so I'm not going to spoil anything. But if it's the one I think He's doing, I actually have it framed in my office in the house. Yeah, it'd be crazy if it did that. It's one of the best books in the entire Bible. I think it's absolutely amazing. So we're going through that series.
You're acting like everybody knows. Our pastor has given us a 3-week challenge to read out through all of Psalms.
Oh, that's where you were going. I'm sorry.
Yes, and so we are in the middle of.
You're saying because that's kind of rough for you. It's not for.
I didn't say it's rough for
I'm
me.
sorry. Okay.
So we're in the middle of doing that, and he gave us a challenge to give something up for 3 weeks.
Yes, indeed.
So I am giving up Facebook, which it needed to be done. So thank you for that challenge, Pastor.
Yes.
And Brian, what did you give up?
Mine's a silly one. So, as you all know, if you know my story, I have the type 1 diabetes. Here's this fun little sensor here. And I have such a sweet tooth, and it sucks because if I eat like 2 Hershey Kisses, I have to take insulin, and it's ridiculous. But I found this brand of ice cream. Maybe there'll be a sponsor here one day. Who knows? Rebel ice cream. Out of all the ice creams that you see, and this is ridiculous. I don't even know how this works. It's net carbs or something. But I can eat basically a whole pint of that, whatever flavor that it is, and it does not touch my blood sugar at all. Doesn't budge, doesn't move. And I was to the point where like I was for real eating a pint every night because I'm just eating by the truckload these days as well. We've talked about that. And so I for real got hooked on this stuff. Like, honestly, it sounds stupid, and so I know in the grand scheme eternally me giving up ice cream doesn't mean anything. But it's proving to myself that I can give something up, since I became 100% sober and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten addicted to, like, kicking habits. I've gotten addicted to, like, creating awesome habits, and because I've proven to myself that I can do those things. And so while the ice cream seems kind of stupid, I'm super duper proud of myself that I'm now 6 days in, and I'm ice cream free.
Yeah.
There's no recovery groups for that, by the way. Well, I don't know, maybe there is.
Anyway, if you
Start
see
one.
me post on Conform to Transform, I did not give up Conform to Transform Facebook. I gave up my personal Facebook because Conform to Transform is our ministry. So
that's our baby.
I'm not going to give that up.
Indeed.
But yeah, so anything else?
No, I just want people to like think on this, just because people typically don't think about the power of your identity, and so just think about it. Like, you're gonna make some decisions, whether you listen to this tonight, whether you're listening on the road 2 weeks from now, whatever. You're gonna be making some choices today. Where are those decisions that you're making? What are they based on? Are they based on the fact that you want to get off work and go home? Are they based on the fact that you were trying to do something for your daughter? Like, every single decision you make is based on your identity, whether you know it or not, and it's super powerful. So if you walk around with the identity of I'm an ugly person or I'm not good enough, even though you may not act like it on the outside, your decisions are coming from that opinion that you have of yourself. And you've got to base it on the fact that you are a daughter of the King or a son of the King. And just be more intentional and more conscious of the decisions that you're making every single day. And you may not seem like it, but did you know life is just nothing but one decision after another?
Well, yeah.
We're making thousands of decisions every single day, and we're making them from a stance of something. We're making it from our value system, our belief system. Well, our value and our belief system comes from, so our actions come from our thoughts come from our mind comes from our identity.
Yeah.
And so just try to be more intentional with that as you go throughout the day. So anything else from you?
No, I'm ready we're going to make some smash burgers.
Oh,
Let's do it.
yes, I'm
We're
excited
hungry.
about that. Indeed, yeah.
We've not ate today, and it is 4:25.
Yes.
We haven't ate all day, so.
Yes, for the next
ready.
hour, my identity is a guy that loves cheeseburgers. Anyway, we love you guys. Thank you.